I'm Jay Taylor. I'm the editor of a newsletter called Jay Taylor's Gold, Energy, and Tech Stocks. We're here at the Metals Investor Forum. It's January 18th, 2020, and I'm here with Jim Paterson. Jim Paterson is the chairman and CEO of a company called ValOre. It's really a very interesting story, new story to me, so I'm going to learn along with you, the viewer, about your, it's a PGM, platinum, palladium, and some gold, I think. In northern Brazil somewhere.
Correct, yeah.
Not in the jungle, I understand. It's in a dry area.
Yeah.
So that's probably good.
It's very good.
For exploration. Tell us a little bit about the project, because I really don't know much about it.
Sure, thanks Jay. It's a district in northeastern Brazil in Ceará state. It's about 4 hours from a major city I'd never even heard of a year ago called Fortaleza. There's about 3 million people that live there. International airport and a port. Paved highways right to the property, about 38,000 hectares, and we consider it a PGM district. There's high-grade samples from the south to the north. We have a 43-101 resource in that, just over 1 million ounces. We think all of the zones that make up the resource have expansion potential, and there's a lot of targets that are quite exciting to us because they've been drilled previously by previous operators that owned it. And there's PGM mineralization in drill holes. They just need follow-up. So there's a real runway, and the discovery pipeline is full. Good.
So you have that data from the previous drill?
Yeah, exactly. The data, it's about $35 million in exploration that generated the data that we have now. And when we bought the project, it was fragmented, the data, sort of in silos. So we acquired the project last year. We closed the deal in August, and we've taken the last 6 months to put that all together, and we've made sort of new data discoveries of mineralized trenches that we didn't know about when we bought it. There's over 80 trenches and 380 drill holes, and beautiful high quality geophysical coverage across the entire property, lots of ground grids. And so we're employing new technology and new techniques to harvest that data and help us expand resources and make discoveries.
So you mentioned, I think, what was the grade? 1.22. 1.22,
and that's PGM gold equivalent.
Right. So what would we be looking at? What's generally the mix between palladium and platinum, and a little bit of gold that's there?
Yeah, the gold's quite small, but the palladium is about 60-40 to palladium to platinum. That would be a good average throughout the different deposits.
Well, the current palladium prices, that's good to know. But is palladium in a bubble? Or what do you think the story is?
I think it's a parabolic chart for sure. And in fact, when we did all of our marketing materials for this specific conference, we had pricing in there for palladium, which we said $2,000 an ounce. And on Friday, it hit $2,300 an ounce. So it's moving fast. But both palladium and platinum generally have a tendency to run counter to each other. So one will run and the other will fall.
Yeah, that's true. So it offsets a little bit.
Yeah, and in this case, surprisingly, palladium's on a tear, on a rager, and platinum's moving up as well. When we acquired the project, it was sort of in the 800s, and on Friday it crested $1,000 for platinum. So they're both moving up, and I think that's from consumption, industrial usage. But right now, I think there's a lot of interest in investment as well. So that's sort of driving the platinum price as well.
Yeah, and it's a pretty thin market compared to gold, for example.
Very thin. Palladium is even thinner, I think. But,
So how much of this prospective structure has been explored? You mentioned there's a lot of drill holes already.
Yeah.
And how soon might you pull together a resource? Or did you say you have one?
We have a 43-101 resource, and that was generated for the most part by drilling from Anglo, so high quality exploration data. We think we can expand it. I think we were conservative. A couple things to think about. When we acquired the project in May, we used conservative numbers for both palladium and platinum to generate our resource estimate. For example, palladium, we use $1,000 palladium price to generate our estimate. Now it's at $2,300. So as you said earlier, I don't think it's in a bubble, but we were conservative with our estimate, at least, from a technical perspective. In terms of how explored, your question was how explored it is. It is fairly well explored. Over 50 kilometers, lots of prospects, but the drilling has been focused on the areas where they actually have resources.
Right.
So there's a huge runway of trenches that are mineralized that haven't been drilled. The deposits down dip have not been drilled or along strike. There's a lot of upside in terms of exploration. But the drilling has been focused in areas where we've included those in our resources for the most part. Mm-hmm. Lots of drilling to do.
Yeah. So would you expect then so is your focus on advancing this project, doing some economics on it, or are you going to keep stepping out and looking to expand the resource?
I think that always needs to be run in parallel.
Yeah.
But I think the primary focus of the company definitely in 2020 will be growth. So it's drilling to expand resources, known resources, following up on those prospects. They're beautiful geophysical anomalies with a drill hole in them that's mineralized. We want to go back and drill some more holes and things like that. So that's where the growth comes. Mm-hmm. And then in tandem, we're going to be running more earlier stage exploration to kind of move things into the pipeline. Mm-hmm. But in tandem with that, we'll be going through everything we need to do to de-risk the project. We've, as a group, Discovery Group, ValOre is part of Discovery Group, Great Bear, Fireweed, Kaminak was in the group, Northern Empire was in the group. We have experience in moving things along and trying to understand what the big companies are looking for. And a lot of the big companies, they'll look at the asset, but they'll also look at the risks associated with buying them. So we're trying to tick boxes for them and say, what can we do to move it along to answer a lot of questions that they'll need to answer or they'll demand to be answered.
Right. What about metallurgy? Have been any metallurgical studies done on it?
There has been metallurgy by Anglo and Jangada did some as well, which is the previous owner, but we haven't done any metallurgy yet. We'll be doing our own metallurgy on the project.
Okay, so that could be a key, an important issue, I suppose.
It is a major important issue.
Yeah, a lot of times with your PGMs. All right, so your budget this year, do you know what your objective will be to increase the resource, you said, but do you have an exploration program put together yet, or is that something you're still working on for 2020?
We're kind of finalizing it this week. This is not only is the MIF conference this week, but Roundup, which is really a leading technical conference that happens every year. So our entire technical team is together in town this week. We're finalizing the drill hole locations, and then based upon access and permitting and depth of those holes, we'll have a budget put together for the 2020 calendar year. So it's coming.
Good. And so what should investors, drivers, I guess you'll have numbers coming out, you'll have a resource, I don't know, don't tell us what should investors be really focused on this year then?
I think it'll take the year. It won't be happening the next month, to be honest. It'll be something that, we're not a company which is dependent upon one drill hole to change our future. Right. So it's the program that will add value, building upon that foundation of the asset, which is the resource. So I think that what hopefully they'll be enjoying is the excitement from exploration success, so new targets that we're drilling. And then if we can clearly communicate to them, here's the resource as it stands today, the shell, and we've drilled down here and we've expanded that, they can start to visualize how the resources can grow. So it's resource growth and new targets that we can convert to resources in the future. And
you're well funded to finance this year's program, or will you need to raise some more money?
We're going to exercise a bunch of warrants. Most of the insiders have it. They're actually above the market price.
They're in the money.
No, some of them aren't, but we're still going to do it. And then we'll be in a position to raise money. Once we have the plan disclosed to the market, there'll be a fundraise.
Yeah.
And we've got really good connections with the capital markets, particularly in Toronto and Vancouver. These brokerage firms and these investors have backed us for 15 to 20 years. Okay. So as soon as we have the plan, we can go to them and tell them exactly what we need.
That's very important. So in terms of the ownership of the company, how much of it is in retail hands and how much it would be in tightly held hands?
Insiders own about 20%.
Okay, so it's...
And then Jangada, which is the company that we bought it from, will have 25 million shares of the currently outstanding, which is about 88 million, just under 88. So they have a big chunk of that stock, and then insiders hold a big... So in terms of the retail component, I would think it would be on the order of 30 to 40%.
Okay, but that's important to have strong hands holding your stock.
Absolutely.
It's very important for the longer term.
And short term, when you're trying to do a financing, if you have a weak market that works against you.
Yeah.
We have really patient shareholders, strong shareholders. So.
Right. Yeah. If you announce the financing, a lot of people run. Yeah. And then they wait to pick it up later.
Yeah.
That's the game.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like a good story, and it's
Thank
one
you.
that I'll be watching now more closely.
Thank you, Jay.
Very great to catch up with you again. Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Jim.
Thank you.